A few weeks ago, with almost no fanfare, the FDA approved the first weight loss drug in pill form. No needle, no clinic visit, no waiting room, just a tablet you swallow any time of day. And honestly, that might be the least shocking thing that's happened in this world all year. There's a shot in testing right now that helped people lose nearly a third of their body weight. The government just moved to unban a dozen peptides your gym buddy is probably already injecting at home. And most people walking around right now have no idea that any of this is even happening. That's the strangest part. The biggest shift in medicine in a generation is unfolding almost completely under the radar. So for the next half hour with no jargon and no homework, I'll hand you the whole map. Which ones are actually real, which are just promising, which are pure hype, and which could hurt you. By the end of this, you'll honestly understand peptides better than most people's own doctors do. But before any of the new drugs make sense, you need the one thing almost nobody can explain. So, what is a peptide actually? The answer is almost disappointingly simple. And once it clicks, the whole story opens up. A peptide is just a tiny protein, a short chain of building blocks called amino acids. Picture a few beads threaded onto a string. That little string is a peptide. And here's what makes that simple idea so powerful. There are only about 20 of these building blocks, 20 amino acids. That's the whole alphabet. String them in any order, any length, like letters making words. 20 letters gave us every book ever written. 20 amino acids give your body every message it needs. A short string is a peptide. A long one, folded up, is a protein. The only real difference is length. And here's the part that surprises people. Your body is making thousands of them right now. They're how your cells talk to each other. Little chemical messages telling the body what to do. Insulin is a peptide. The signal that tells you you're full after dinner is a peptide. So these aren't some strange new invention. They're your body's own private messaging system. And that is exactly why drug companies got obsessed with them in the first place. Copy one of those messages and you can tell the body to do almost anything. Burn fat, heal a tendon, calm down, build muscle. Each message is its own key. There's just one catch. Stomach acid rips these fragile little chains to shreds. That's why nearly every peptide is injected instead of swallowed. Remember that. It matters later. Now, this story is a lot older than you'd guess. The first peptide drug arrived over 100 years ago, back in 1922, insulin. And that first time we copied one of the body's messages, it saved a child's life. A 14-year-old boy was dying of diabetes, down to 90 pounds and fading fast. They injected him with insulin, a peptide, and within days he was sitting up, alive. We had learned to write in the body's own language. The Nobel Prize came the very next year. But the modern gold rush, the whole Ozempic phenomenon, began somewhere genuinely bizarre. It began in the venom of a fat, slow, venomous desert lizard, the Gila monster. And that lizard is the reason a brand new weight loss drug now lands almost every month. So, the lizard. Back in 1992, a researcher named John Eng was studying Gila monster venom. He found a molecule in its spit that looked almost exactly like a human hunger hormone, but with one magic difference. In your body, ours lasts minutes. The lizard's lasted hours. That tiny difference is the reason a weight loss revolution exists at all. The hormone is called GLP-1. And here's the trick everyone gets wrong about it. These drugs don't just shrink your stomach. They reach all the way up into your brain. They quiet what patients call food noise, that constant background chatter about the next snack. Turn the noise down, and eating less stops feeling like a fight you're losing. And there's a deeper reason these work when ordinary diets don't. Your brain has a weight it thinks you should be. Call it a set point. Diet below it, and your body fights back. It slows your metabolism and screams for food. That's why most diets fail. You're not weak. You're fighting your own biology. What these drugs really do is lower that set point. The body finally stops fighting. The lizard molecule became a drug in 2005. Then came Ozempic. You know the rest. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Ozempic is already the old news. Semaglutide, the stuff inside Ozempic and Wegovy, gets people about 15% lighter. The real champion right now is a different shot, Zepbound, at around 22%. And that number is about to look small. This is where the actual story starts. Right now, there's an arms race to build the most powerful weight loss drug ever made. Picture a leaderboard, because the contenders are stacking up fast, and they get stranger as we climb. First up, retatrutide. Most drugs hit one target in the body. This one hits three. The industry nickname is the Triple G, and its trial result genuinely stunned people. The average person lost almost 29% of their body weight. That's around 70 pounds, territory we used to only get from surgery. Catch is, it's still in testing. Probably not approved until 2027. File it under coming. Next, CagriSema, from the makers of Ozempic, fighting to win their crown back. It pairs a familiar drug with a second hormone called amylin, landing near 23%. It's sitting on the FDA's desk right now, waiting on a decision. Then survodutide, and this is the freshest number in the whole space, from just weeks ago, about 17%. And as a bonus, it may also treat a serious liver disease. Now it gets interesting, because the next two aren't chasing the biggest number. One's called MOTS-c. Instead of a shot every week, it might be a shot once a month, maybe even once every 3 months. Imagine treating obesity with 4 injections a year. And the dark horse, petrelintide. Its weight loss number is smaller, around 11%, but it pulled off something the others couldn't. In trials, almost nobody got nauseous. For the millions who quit these drugs over the side effects, that is enormous, because these are not trouble-free. The most common side effect is nausea, sometimes rough. Lose weight too fast and your face can hollow out. People even call it Ozempic face. And the catch nobody loves? Stop taking it, and the weight usually comes back. These aren't a cure. They work while you take them, like a blood pressure pill. So here's your first verdict. Every one of these is genuinely promising. The science is real. But not a single one is on a pharmacy shelf yet. So if a website is selling you retatrutide today, that is not a pharmacy. Hold that thought. Because here's the twist in this whole race. The drug that actually changes everything, it isn't the strongest shot at all. In fact, it isn't a shot. A few weeks ago, the FDA approved a weight loss drug called orforglipron. The brand name is Foundeo, and it does the one thing none of the others can. You don't inject it, you swallow it. A single pill, once a day. Now, on raw weight loss, the pill is weaker, somewhere around 5 to 11%. So why am I telling you it might be the most important one on the entire list? Because of who it reaches. Think about everyone a weekly injection quietly leaves out. The millions who are terrified of needles. The people who can't deal with shipping and refrigerating a shot. And here's the bigger thing. Pills are far cheaper and easier to make at scale. The injections have been stuck in shortages for years because they're genuinely hard to manufacture. A pill you can stamp out by the billion. That's how a drug goes truly mainstream. And this one's flexible in a way the shots aren't. No food rules, any time of day. The cash price starts around $150 a month, as low as $25 with insurance. So put Foundeo in the real column. It's approved, it's here, you can actually get it. It won't out-lose a top-tier shot, but it might be the one that reaches everybody else. That's the weight loss story, the shots, the race, and the pill that cracks it wide open. Before we leave the weight loss drugs, there's one catch almost nobody warns you about. And it matters most if you're over 50, which, if you're watching this, you just might be. When the weight comes off this fast, not all of it is fat. A real chunk of what you lose can be muscle. For some people, up to a third. Now, for a 25-year-old, losing a little muscle is no big deal. But muscle is what keeps you strong, steady on your feet, and independent as you age. Losing it too fast in your 60s isn't a minor side effect. It's a real concern. The good news? The fix is refreshingly low-tech, and you've heard it your whole life. Eat enough protein, and do some kind of strength training while you're on the drug. That's the thing that turns "I lost weight" into "I actually got healthier." And notice, that's exactly what a real doctor watches for, and a website never will. Speaking of muscle, that worry opens a door to a whole other family of peptides. Because if some peptides melt fat away, others promise the exact opposite, to build you up. Meet the builders. Sermorelin, ipamorelin, CJC 1295, the darlings of gyms and anti-aging clinics. The pitch is intoxicating. More muscle, faster recovery, deeper sleep, younger skin. And the trick is clever. They don't give you growth hormone. They nudge your body to make its own. Growth hormone is what built you as a kid, and it quietly fades as you age. These peptides whisper to the gland that makes it, "Hey, make a little more." So, fountain of youth in a vial? Here is the honest scorecard. Of this whole family, exactly one is FDA approved, tesamorelin, and only for a narrow belly fat problem in people with HIV, not anti-aging. The famous gym stack, CJC 1295 with ipamorelin, has never passed a real human anti-aging trial. And cranking up growth hormone is not all upside. It makes things grow, including things you don't want growing. So the builders split the same way. Tesamorelin is real for its one narrow job. The rest are promising stories on thin proof, exciting, unproven, sold mostly on hope. Which is the perfect bridge to the wildest corner of all. Okay, so far, everything we've covered is an actual approved medicine, or close to it. Now we leave the pharmacy and walk straight into the Wild West. Because peptide doesn't only mean weight loss. There's a whole shelf of others. And until about 2 months ago, most of them were quietly, technically, banned. Start with the most hyped peptide on the internet, BPC 157. Fans call it the Wolverine peptide, after the superhero who heals from any wound. The claim is that it repairs tendons, joints, even your gut, far faster than normal. Bodybuilders swear by it. Podcasters won't stop talking about it. So, does it work? Here's the honest answer almost nobody selling it will give you. Nearly all the evidence, all that dramatic healing, comes from studies in rats. In humans, there have been only a handful of tiny trials, that's it. It might turn out to be real, but right now that's a hope, not a fact. Then there's MOTS-c, and this one is genuinely wild in concept. It's a peptide your own cells make deep inside their little power plants, the mitochondria. The nickname is exercise in a vial, and the viral claim is hard to resist. In one study, older mice nearly doubled how long they could run on a treadmill. A shot that gives you a workout without the workout? Of course it went viral. But notice the pattern. That headline is mice again, not people. So both of these land in the hype column. Not fake, not proven. Buyer beware. And the rabbit hole goes deeper, into longevity in the brain. There's epitalon, a Russian peptide claimed to rebuild your telomeres, the caps on your DNA that fray with age. Fascinating idea. The proof? Mostly animals, again. Then Selenk and C-Max, Russian nasal sprays for calm and focus, used there for decades. Barely tested the Western way. This is the biohacker stack, the stuff traded in longevity group chats. And here is why the proof stays so thin. A real drug trial costs hundreds of millions. A company only spends that to protect a patent. And most of these peptides are old and cheap. Nobody can patent them, so nobody funds the trials. They're stuck in limbo, not proven, not disproven, just unfunded. But before you write off the whole wellness shelf, there's one corner that actually delivers. And it's probably already in your bathroom. It's skin. A copper peptide called GHK-Cu has solid evidence for building collagen and healing wounds. It's why you see the word peptides splashed across the fancy serums at the department store. And then there's collagen peptides, the powder people stir into their morning coffee. For years, I'd have called that a waste of money. The recent studies genuinely changed my mind. Newer trials show real improvements in skin elasticity and hydration. Measurable, not imaginary. And the surprising part, collagen is one of the rare peptides that survives being swallowed. So the lesson isn't wellness peptides are all bunk. It's know which corner you're standing in. Skin has the receipts. Healing and longevity? Still mostly promises. Oh, and one more because it's honestly too good to leave out. There's an FDA-approved peptide for low sex drive in women, and it works in the brain. And here's the strange part. Scientists discovered it completely by accident. They were testing a tanning drug of all things, and the volunteers got unexpectedly aroused. Its gray market cousin, the actual tanning peptide, is the cautionary tale, linked to new moles and worse. But here's what makes 2026 different, and why you're suddenly hearing all these names at once. For years, regulators kept these peptides in a locked drawer. Then politics opened it. In February, the U.S. Health Secretary, Robert Kennedy, went on the biggest podcast in the world, and he announced that around a dozen banned peptides would be allowed back. Overnight, peptides stopped being a gym secret and became a national news story. In April, the FDA followed through and pulled 12 of them off its restricted list. Now, here's the part the headlines got wrong, and it really matters. Taking them off the ban list does not mean the FDA approved them. It only means they're no longer formally labeled a serious safety risk. The real reckoning comes at an FDA hearing on July 23rd and 24th. That's when a panel of experts decides what's actually allowed and what isn't. And the timing couldn't be sharper, because the safety warnings are stacking up fast. When investigators tested peptides sold online, the results were genuinely alarming. Up to 65% failed basic safety limits for bacterial contamination. Some contained heavy metals. Some had the wrong dose, or ingredients that were never listed. At one anti-aging conference, 2 women were hospitalized after peptide shots. One was put on a ventilator. Even Kennedy, the man who opened the drawer, calls the online market very, very substandard. And a top cardiologist put it bluntly: using these freely is, in his words, reckless. So that's the line. The approved drugs go through a pharmacy. The gray market vials go through a website. One of those is medicine. The other is a gamble with your body. Which brings us to the real question. Before I give you the final scorecard, let me make this real. Picture someone you know. Maybe it's your sister. Maybe it's you. She's 57. Her own sister just lost 40 pounds on a weekly shot and looks incredible. Her knees ache every single morning. And last week, a podcast told her about a healing peptide. So she does what anyone does. Types it into Google at 11 at night. And a friendly-looking website offers to sell her 3 different vials by Friday. But she doesn't need a chemistry degree to make a smart call. She just needs the map you now have. So let's hand it to her. Picture 4 columns. We've been quietly filling them in this whole time. Column 1, real. FDA approved, and they genuinely work. The GLP-1 shots, Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, and now the pill, Foundeo. These aren't hype. With a doctor, they're some of the most studied drugs in modern medicine. Column 2, promising. The next wave, retatrutide, CagriSema, and the others. The data is real and exciting. They're just not available yet. Be patient, not reckless. Column 3, hype. The wellness stars, like BPC 157 and MOTS-c. Maybe they'll pan out, but today the headlines are way ahead of the human proof. Column 4, dangerous. Not a drug, a place. Anything from an online research site. That's the column that puts people in the hospital. Stay out of it. So, our friend with the aching knees. Her sister's shot? That's column 1. Worth a real doctor's visit. The healing peptide from that midnight website? Column 3, being sold by column 4. She doesn't need to be a scientist. She just needed to know which column she was looking at. And if you do raise this with your doctor, walk in with the right questions. Ask, is this approved for my situation, or are we going off-label? Ask, where does it actually come from? A licensed pharmacy or the internet? Ask, what's the evidence in humans, not mice? And how will you monitor me? And if it's a weight loss shot, ask the one thing most people forget. How do I keep my muscle while I lose the fat? Protein and strength training matter. And let's talk about what pushes people toward the gray market in the first place. Money. The approved shots can run several hundred to over $1,000 a month without insurance. The pill is cheaper, but plenty of insurers still won't cover weight loss at all. So people go hunting online, and that is exactly where the danger lives. Here's the line that keeps you safe. A compounded drug comes from a licensed pharmacy with real oversight. A research chemical off a random website comes from no one, with none at all. Good telehealth links you to a real prescriber and a real pharmacy. A sketchy site just ships you a vial. One of those is medicine on a budget. The other is a coin flip with your body. Because here's the honest bottom line on all of it. A peptide isn't a miracle, and it isn't a poison. It's a real drug. And a real drug deserves a real prescription, not a checkout cart. So, that's the map. Take a breath. You just covered a lot of ground. 100 years ago, we learned to copy one of the body's messages. We called it insulin. Today, we can copy dozens. To quiet hunger, to heal, maybe even to age more slowly. That's all a peptide really is. Your body's own language, finally being written down. And the pace right now is staggering. A new chapter lands almost every month. A pill this spring, a record-breaking shot next year, a whole shelf of others up for debate this summer. Most people won't catch up to this for years. They'll hear peptide and just nod along, but not you. You know what they are, which ones are real, and which ones to walk away from. So the next time your doctor mentions one, or your neighbor swears by one, you won't be guessing. You'll be the one in the room who actually gets it. Not bad for one cup of coffee. I'll keep breaking these down one peptide at a time as the news breaks. So if this was useful, stick around, because this story is only getting started. The wave is coming either way. Now you'll just see it first.